This video is sponsored by Disney Book Group. Vampire fangs and witches brew, autumn's old and autumn's new. Pumpkin patches and leaves of fall, bring to me a big book haul. I said, bring to me a big book haul. A book haul. Oh, wait. Okay. Book haul! Well, I fear that spell might have worked a little too well because, besties, we've got a lot of books to talk about today. Welcome to my autumn book haul. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi, and I am so excited that you're here today. Today is a very good day because today I get to share with you quite the lengthy amount of new books that I have acquired. Autumn is literally one of my very favorite seasons for about a million different reasons, but also I happen to love this time of year because I adore all of the creepy little stories that are coming out. I am such a big fan of some scary stories, of stories with like little bits of magic and whimsy in them. And so this is literally my favorite time as a reader to be alive because usually around this time of year in September, October, and November, all of my most anticipated books with little bits of magic or creepiness come out and it just... I'm thriving, okay? So the vibes today are cozy and rambly. I have myself a piping hot cup of vanilla tea. I have a little teapot of it next to me, and it's like my favorite type of video to film. Basically, I'm just going to be rambling about a bunch of books that I'm excited to read while drinking and feeling super, super cozy. So I highly recommend that you pause the video, you grab yourself something cozy as well, and we can just chat and hang out like two besties, and I will share with you all of the books I am super excited to hopefully read very soon. I'm gonna go ahead and break up this book haul into two different categories, and they're just gonna be age categories. So the first category is gonna be YA and middle grade, and then the next category is adult books. Let's go ahead and start though with the first category, which is YA and middle grade fiction. Well, let's go ahead and start with the very first book, which is YA, and this book was very kindly sent to me by Disney Book Group, who is also very kindly sponsoring today's video. And that book is The Dark Becomes Her by Judy Lynn. This book sounds kind of like it has everything. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm super excited. Those of you who know me know that I am obsessed with ghost stories. This has some ghosts in it, but also it's a book that sounds like it has a lot of depth and a lot of layers. So the book is following Ruby, and Ruby has a sister named Tina. And Ruby feels like she kind of has to have everything together in her life. Between piano lessons and trying to maintain a really high GPA, she sort of feels a little bit overwhelmed. And then one day she is attacked by a ghost, which not only is that unfortunate, but also seems a little unfair considering everything that she is going through. You know what I mean? On top of this random ghost attack, now her sister Tina is also acting a little weird. Strange noises are coming out of her bedroom. She seems a little bit more dark, and Ruby feels that she has to somehow save her sister from whatever is going on. And if all of that wasn't enough, the gateway to the underworld is also apparently trying to be broken into and opened by a sinister group that has just come in to Ruby's life. So Ruby really has to step it up because she's got to save herself, her sister, and apparently everyone she knows from this weird gateway that is being opened to the underworld. It really has a lot of different elements that I love. I love ghost stories and I love sibling dynamic stories. And I think that this is going to combine those two perfectly. And I have also heard that this book is perfect for fans of House of Hollow. That was a 5-star read for me. That was such an atmospheric and eerie, creepy little book, and I loved it with my whole heart. So as soon as I heard that this is for fans of that book, I immediately was sold. And then the other reason I am super excited to read this is that it sounds like it has the perfect combination between horror and mythology, as a lot of the book is exploring Chinese and Taiwanese folklore. I am just so excited about it. I absolutely know that Ruby can pull through. Well, actually I don't. We don't know yet if Ruby can save the day, but I'm assuming she can, and I believe in her. If you're interested in learning more about The Dark Becomes Her, I will have a link down below. It is available now. If you are just as excited as me, you can go ahead and pick up your copy today. And again, a huge thank you to Disney Book Group for sponsoring today's video. Now, speaking of House of Hollow, I have here the Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, which this book is stunning. It's the little things in life, and the little things are sprayed edges that are shiny. So House of Hollow was actually a buddy read that I read a couple of years ago with one of my best friends, and I loved that book so much, so I am very excited to read this one. So this book is following 3 different perspectives. They are all trying to track down and take down a monstrous serial killer. They don't know anything about the serial killer, and they want to get this monstrous serial killer for different reasons. One of the girls is personally out for revenge because she thinks that this thing killed her sister, and she's like, listen, I want her back and I want this thing to pay. And like, good for you, girl. The other girl apparently sold her soul to a demon or the devil or something, and getting this monster, I don't know, is gonna aid her in some way. And then the last one sells invocations. I think she is a witch, and then everyone who she is selling her invocations to is winding up dead. And I said this in the last video, but I'll say it again. She's basically like, that is bad for business, my friend. You can't keep killing my clients, you know? Because then who's gonna pay the bills? I really support that work ethic mentality. I do. So the book is following these 3 girls. They decide to team up and take down this big, bad, monstrous serial killer together. That's all I know. I love Crystal Sutherland's atmospheric writing. It's perfect for this time of year. This came out in January, but I've been holding off on reading it and buying it until October. It's finally October. It's finally the perfect season. I'm very excited to read this, and I think it's gonna be great. The next book is a book that I have on my Kindle. Most of these, except for like 2 titles, are all physical, but I do sometimes buy books. I'm not gonna talk about the books that I have on my Kindle Unlimited, just the books that I have purchased, and I think there's only 2. So the very first one is by Maureen Johnson, and it is called Death at Morning House. Now this, I'll put this down now. This book is a thriller, and we're following Marlowe, whose last job ended tragically when the house burned down. I think she was like house sitting or something, and then it caught on fire. She then starts working for this creepy 1920s manor, which is on this little island, and she gives house tours to, I guess, guests who pay to learn a little bit more about this creepy Gothic mansion. And then all I know is that dead bodies are involved. That's what it says in the synopsis. I still don't know if these are like current and new dead bodies and she just stumbles across them, or if the house is haunted. But either way, it sounds like a good time to read about. The next YA I have here, I am very excited about. Again, it has really pretty sprayed edges. It makes my heart really happy. This is called Immortal Dark, and this is by Tigist Gurma, and it sounds perfect. It looks perfect. I think this is gonna be great if I wanna be a little scared during October, which, I mean, who doesn't wanna be a little bit scared during October? Unless it's like there's an actual scary event, in which case, no thank you. So this book is about a girl named Kaiden, and her little sister June mysteriously disappears, and she is convinced that her sister has been abducted by this mysterious vampire who I guess is somehow like the companion or something to her family. And she decides that the only way that she's gonna find out what actually happened to her sister June is if she enters into this very elite and odd little academy. And I'm pretty sure that the vampire is at this school. So we've kind of got like Dark Academia vibes, but also make it vampires. I'm very excited. So this next book, I don't think is new. This edition is new, and the edition is so beautiful. But I think this actually came out, I wanna say last year, possibly the year before, but I just have never seen this book before, and I'm really excited. It's called Curious Tides, and this is by Pascal Lascelles, I think. Stunning. Listen, okay. Do you want to know my type in books? I don't mean like genre, I mean like how they look. I like a floppy paperback that has a little something extra to it, you know what I mean? So like when I saw this in the bookstore, it was like love at first sight. I can't believe I've never heard of this though, because it does sound like a book that would be right up my alley. It has kind of like Dark Academia vibes. We have a secret society involved. We have like a mysterious group of students. We have some people who are like just, they show up dead. It sounds very intriguing and a little bit scary, which is perfect for me personally. So it says, after a treacherous night at the Dovermere Sea Caves leaves her with a strange and dark magic, the lunar mage and prestigious Aldrin student Emery believes that her secret secrets have drowned with her classmates until their bodies start washing ashore. So now she's gonna get the help of like this reclusive student, and together they're gonna try to figure out what actually happened. And Emery is convinced that there is a little bit of like a secret society involved as to the disappearance of her classmates, and she believes that she is going to be their next target unless she can figure out what they're doing and what they're up to and then stop them. And then I have 3 middle grades here. Let's start with this one. So this book is called Greenwild, and this is by Pari Thompson. And this book was actually very, very kindly gifted to me by one of my subscribers named Amanda. So Amanda, thank you so much for sending this to me. I promise you, I will not be reading the back of the book for a lot of these, but some of them, they like demand it, because the way the synopsis has been written is much better than the way I could summarize it. So please listen to this. It says, Daisy Thistledown is on the run. Her mother has been keeping big, glittering secrets, and now she has vanished. 11-year-old Daisy knows it's up to her to find Ma, but she's being hunted down by someone determined to stop her from discovering the truth, and the chase will lead her through a hidden doorway and into another world. This has all of my favorite things. I am such a fan of Portal Fantasies. Yes. So this next middle grade already has my whole heart. It looks absolutely perfect for this time of year. So if you are a middle grade lover, highly recommend picking it up, even though I haven't read it yet. This is called the Bellwood Games, and this is by Celia Grampine, I think. Look at the cover with the leaves, and then also there's like this creepy little face. Amazing. This book kind of is reminding me of one of my very favorite books by Kate Alice Marshall. It's called Rules for Vanishing. They have somewhat similar vibes. I am very excited for this. So this book starts off with saying, everyone knows Fall Hollow is haunted. There was a girl named Abigail, and she disappeared into these very dark woods in this town years ago. And people say that her ghost haunts the forest. And the only way to kind of keep this ghost from like haunting the town is to go into the forest on All Hallows Eve and then ring some random bell. It's a tradition in this town for 6th graders to go into the woods and kind of like try to survive some random foresty games and then ring the bell. And this year, Bailey is determined to try to go into the woods and win this game. And she thinks that maybe if she can do that, she will be let back into her friend group. However, what the kids don't know is that something is waiting for them in the woods as well. And then the last middle grade that I have here is called the Whisperwicks, The Labyrinth of Lost and Found, and this is by Jordan Lees. This is my Patreon book club book pick for the month of October. So this book is following Benjamin, and Benjamin does not believe in magic, okay? He is a science, logical type of boy. And then one day he is sent a creepy little doll, and the doll becomes a bird. And he's like, well, that is neither logical nor scientific. He decides to follow this doll bird, and it leads him into another world. And once he is there, he is desperately trying to find his way back, and he meets a person who is also looking for her brother. So we've got kind of like a little bit of a quest going on, a creepy little world. I think the vibes are going to be perfect for this time of year, and I'm really excited about this one. I think this is going to be really good. And that is it as far as all of the books that I have that are YA and middle grade. Now let's go ahead and move on to my very lengthy adult category, which, guys, there's a lot, okay? There's a lot. Let's go ahead and kick things off with the last ebook that I have purchased for my Kindle, and that was The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. This is the author who wrote The Wishing Game, which I really, really enjoyed, and I am very excited for this one. So this book is loosely inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia. We're following 2 men who actually went to another world when they were boys. One of them does not remember this happening, and the other one does. And the one that does is actively trying to recover missing children who have gone missing in this world. But for whatever reason, he's not telling his bestie that they both went to another world. Then he decides they actually need to go back to the world. He tells his bestie, and they have to try to go and find their way back into this magical little world. I think it's a little bit more scary and sinister than the original Narnia tales. And I really am excited about this one because, first of all, I love a good bestie tale. Second of all, I absolutely love Portal Fantasies. But third, I think this book is going to be combining some maybe like trauma and some more serious topics. books along with magic. I really like this combination because I feel like magic can be a great metaphor or kind of like break down certain things and help dive into some like harder topics in a really beautiful and meaning way. So I think this is going to be a really, really wonderful book. I have very high expectations. I'm nervous going into it because I think it's going to be such a highly rated book, but I'm really, really excited. The next book I have here is an anthology and it's called Bound in Blood. And this is by a plethora of horror and thriller writers. And the whole thing, the entire anthology is just about books, which I love. The books in this book are sinister, some are scary, some are creepy, some are bad. Some I think are supposed to be a little bit more like lighthearted, but every single tale is just focusing on different books. I think there's like a haunted bookstore in here. We're delving into a witch's grimoire in here. I am truly a book lover because anytime I hear that there is a book about books, I'm in. The next book I have here is a book that I've just finished up actually for my September book club, and it's called The Spellshop, and this is by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a very, very cozy book. So this book is following Keela, and Keela was a magical librarian, and she and her bestie Kaz, who is a talking plant, have to flee to a magical little island where she grew up. And once she is there, she opens a jam shop. But really, she's not just selling strawberry jam, she's also selling illegal spells. And it's just about like what she gets up to on this little island. There's a very cute and cozy little romance on here. If you were somebody who wants a cute kind of cottagecore witchy vibe book for the season, I think you should pick this up because I thought it was very well done. The next book is another kind of cozy fantasy type book, and it is by India Holton, and it's called The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. This just sounds so unique and absolutely so cute and cozy. Rival ornithologists hunt through England for a rare magical bird in this historical fantasy rom-com reminiscent of Indiana Jones, but with manners, tea, and helicopter parasols. So that's all I needed to know. I think it's gonna be really unique. I think it's gonna be really funny. And I think it's gonna be really, really cozy for the season. Next, I picked up a little creepy novella by M.L. Rio, and it's called Graveyard Shift. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even care what this is about. I was absolutely going to pick this up because M.L. Rio is one of my favorite authors. I've also met her in person, and she is just so lovely and kind. M.L. Rio wrote If We Were Villains, which to this day, in my opinion, is literally perfection in a book. I think it's gonna be really cute and atmospheric and wonderful for the season. And when I say cute, I just mean I'm gonna enjoy myself. It's not really giving cute vibes. It's giving like eerie and scary vibes, but I am very excited about it. I loved the atmosphere that she built and the tension that she built in If We Were Villains, and I'm just excited to see any of that writing again in Graveyard Shift. The next book I have here is a fantasy, and it's called The Book of Doors, and this is by Gareth Brown. I actually bought this when I was over in the Netherlands visiting my best friend, and I am just so excited to read this book. The book is about a girl named Cassie, and Cassie apparently has been gifted a book, and the book will let her open any door that she wants. However, there are some doors that should remain closed. That's all I know. And it just sounds so perfect. I love this concept of keys or books that can open any world or any door. It's kind of giving like Lock and Key, but make it more fantasy based. I am very excited. I think it's gonna be really, really great. But also, once again, I just love books about books. The next one that I have here is by Alexis Henderson, and this is actually my November book club book for my Patreon, and it's called An Academy for Liars. You guys, let me put down my tea. Okay, so we've got to talk about this book. First of all, House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson was a 5-star and probably one of my very favorite horrors, if not my favorite horror of all time. I read that last year, I think, and it was peak, okay? The vibes, incredible. This book though, it feels like it has so much potential that I'm nervous to start it, but also I am desperate to start it. This is a Southern Gothic dark academia book. Right there, perfect. The book is following our main character, Lennon, and Lennon's life is falling apart. And then one day she is mysteriously invited to apply to this magical university hidden in a secret and magical pocket of Savannah, Georgia. And apparently in this hidden pocket of Savannah is a magical academy or a magical university. What I wouldn't give to go there right now and just learn magic. Alas, I did not get invited to a creepy, magical little university in Savannah, Georgia. So I will read about it instead and just pretend it's real. The next book I have here is Matt Haig's newest release. Matt Haig wrote The Midnight Library, which I absolutely adored. And this book is called The Life Impossible. And I am very excited. I do think I'm gonna wait maybe until more December to read this, but I am very, very excited to read this nonetheless. This is following Grace, and Grace is a retired math teacher, I believe, and she's actually willed or gifted an old house, I think in Ibiza, by her friend who has passed away. And so she decides to go there and learn more about her friend's life. And I think while she is there, she discovers more about her. Now, if you have read anything by Matt Haig, you'll know that he is very, very good at making you cry. And making you cry in this really beautiful way. I'm very excited to read this. I know that this is going to be touching in some way. I don't know how yet, but I am very intrigued. And again, I just loved The Midnight Library so much, so I can't wait to read this. Speaking of potentially crying, I'm very excited to also read this one. This is called Blue Sisters, and this is by Coco Mellers. This is a literary fiction that was just released, I think, last month, possibly. And it's following three sisters who go back to New York once their fourth sister has tragically passed away. And I think it's a book that is exploring the complexities of their family and their family structure, but also sibling dynamics and the relationships that they have between each other. And I'm very intrigued, I think, by this book. The next book I have here is by Kirsten White, and it's called Lucy Undying, a Dracula novel. The book is following Lucy, and Lucy is dead. Lucy has tragically been bit by Dracula. I'm pretty sure she becomes a vampire. Love that for her. Once she's a vampire, she, I think, like escapes Dracula, and she kind of like ventures off on her own. Basically, this is a vampire coming of age story, and I'm very excited about it. Next up, we have a book that I have not heard about. I just randomly saw while browsing the bookstore. Very excited. It's by Karen Marie Monning, I think, and it's called The House at Watch Hill. This is a book that has so many of my favorite elements, okay? I love books that have gothic vibes, and I love books that have like this kind of common twist or plot where it's like you get to have this creepy gothic mansion, but only if you stay in this creepy gothic mansion for a certain amount of time. There have been so many books that kind of have this premise that have ended up being like some of my favorite books of all time. One is These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall. Had a very similar kind of like synopsis lead up, and I loved that book, and I'm very excited. So we're following our main character, who is Zoe Gray. After finding out that her mother has unfortunately passed away, she receives a call from the attorney in Louisiana, and apparently she has inherited this large, sweeping gothic mansion. But the only way that she gets it is if she lives in there for like 2 years. The answer is yes. The answer, my friends, is yes. I don't know if this has any supernatural or fantasy elements, and I don't want to know. Okay, I don't want to know. I just want to go into this not knowing anything and just be scared. Next up is a book that I've already finished. It's called Evocation, and this is by S.T. Gibson. I referred to the author one time as Saint Gibson, and I fear I shall never forgive myself. But anyways, this is by S.T. Gibson. This is following David, and David unfortunately has made a deal with the devil to sell his soul. The only way that he thinks that he can break this deal or this curse is if he enlists the help of his ex-boyfriend Reese, who is married to the lovely Moira. And Reese and David are in this little magical secret society together. So the vibes are secret society, magic, and trying to break a curse. Next up, we have Phantasma, and this is by Kaylee Smith. This is a book that has been getting so much hype and so much buzz. And this book is following Ophelia. Ophelia's mom has tragically just been murdered, and now the family debt is on her shoulders and her sister's shoulders. Apparently, not only do they owe a lot of money, they also owe magical debt, whatever that means. And her sister gets it into her head that the best way to solve this is by entering into this thing called Phantasma, which is kind of like a competition. You have to survive and then also go through all 9 levels of this very scary, almost haunted house. And on every single level, there are different fears that are going to be unlocked, and different monsters and demons and like very bad, scary things. Ophelia does not want to deal with this, but she's like, I have to save my sister. So she enters into this competition with one and only one goal, and that is to save her little sister. And then while she is there, she meets a sexy random person. intrigued. Next up, we have a dark academia book, and it's called The Dissonance, and this is by Sean Hamill. This book is following three people who used to be students of a professor who's a little bit eccentric, and he taught them that they can create magic if they have these really wild, big sweeps of emotion. Together, they kind of form a little bit of like a coven. The coven breaks up, and then years and years later, they decide to all kind of get together and they induct a new member. And then that new member summons a dark entity. So, I mean, they're really going through it. The next book is a book that I have completely devoured and I gave 5 stars to. It's by S.T. Gibson and it's called An Education in Malice. This book has been loosely inspired by Carmilla. I have not read Carmilla. I have heard that you really need to go into this not expecting Carmilla because the vibes are very different from Carmilla. But I have to tell you, I loved it. I was living while I was reading this book. The book is following Laura, and Laura has just been accepted into this very, very elite and hard to get into writing program at a university in New England. Like, I'm telling you, this is so perfect for the season and so atmospheric. It opens up in September, and it opens up describing all of the leaves and how colorful and chilling it is. Laura gets into this very elite writing program, and immediately she is completely infatuated with a woman named Carmilla, who becomes her academic rival quite quickly. Carmilla is really not very interested in Laura at first. She is more interested in this very toxic professor and trying to get this professor's approval, essentially, and also her attention, and in a lot of ways, like her love and affection. It's like a very toxic dynamic between the three of them because the professor sees that these two girls somehow make their writing better when they are hating each other. And so she is constantly stirring things up between them. It's just this very fun tale about dark academia and vampires and pining, and it's great. Another dark academia book that I'm very excited to read is by Allison Saft, and this is called A Dark and Drowning Tide. This book sounds really good. It sounds a little bit more fantasy based, and I think it's gonna be really fun. We're following Lorelai, and Lorelai is on an expedition with, I think, like 6 or 7 other people, and she and these people are looking for a spring that may or may not exist, and it's a magical spring. And then her mentor is tragically murdered while on this expedition. The only person she knows for sure that she can trust is her academic rival, Sylvia. And so she has to team up with Sylvia, and they have to try to figure out who murdered her mentor before they murder one of them. I have heard that Allison Saft is a very, very atmospheric writer. I've heard great things about A Far Wilder Magic. I think it's gonna be really fun. Speaking of fun, this sounds really good. This is called Dreadful, and this is by Caitlin Rozakis, and I am living for the vibes of the book already. So this book is following Gav, and Gav randomly wakes up in a castle and finds out that he is an evil Dark Lord. And he's like, I really don't remember ever becoming an evil Dark Lord. The book is about him trying to figure out why can't he remember anything? And is he really the evil Dark Lord person? And if he is, does he want to be? Next up we have Rewitched, and this is by Lucy Jane Wood. This just came out and it sounds so cute and so wholesome. So we are following Belladonna, and Belladonna lives in this very cute, quaint little small town, and she works at a bookshop. And she is a witch, but she is a witch with a small amount of magic. Then one day, I guess for her 30th birthday, a summons comes and says that she now has to go through a trial and prove that she has enough magic to be considered a witch. And if she can't prove that she has enough magic, she actually loses all of her magic and she can't be a witch. The book is also supposed to apparently focus on self-love, which I really, really love. I'm getting very wholesome vibes from this. There's also a small town romance in here, and I just think it's gonna be very cute and cozy for this season. The next book just came out and it's called Rise and Divine, and this is by Lana Harper. And this is part of the Payback's a Witch series. I think it's called Witches of Thistlegrove. So this book is following Dasha, and Dasha is a witch with a very unusual gift. She is a necromancer, and she comes from a family of necromancers. And apparently she is thrown together with her ex Ivy. The two of them have to plan this month-long festival together. It's a festival, I think it's like a magical festival in the town. I think Dasha has broken Ivy's heart. So she is still in love with Ivy, but like she doesn't know how to make it up to her. So I love this. I love the vibes. I love the romance. I love the necromancy. And I love that there's gonna be like a month-long festival. I think it's gonna be so fun and so cute. The next book I have here is called The Crescent Moon Tea Room. Room, and this is by Stacy Savinsky, and this just came out and it feels so cozy and so wholesome, and once again, perfect for the autumn season. So this book is following three sisters, and these three sisters are all magical witches, and they spend their days in their Crescent Moon tea room where they serve customers piping hot tea, and then they also read their fortunes in the tea leaves. And then something happens with the Council of Witches where I think like the main counselor or something dies, or I don't know, something happens. She loses her powers. And then all of the sisters actually gain more power, and somehow this threatens to tear them apart. I think they're all being pulled in different directions. I think it's gonna be very cute, very cozy, and very atmospheric for the season. Next up is a book that I also purchased, I think, in the Netherlands. It's called The Dallergut Dream Department Store, and this book is a very wholesome and very cute book. It's following this little department store where you can go and purchase dreams, and it's so fascinating because every single chapter actually reads a little bit like a short story. It has a lot of depth and meaning into it. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really cute and really wholesome, and the entire thing is literally just focused on a place rather than a plot or the lives of people. It's way more focused on this department store and dreams and the types of dreams that people will experience and what those dreams mean. It's very fun, I think, and I really enjoyed kind of like the surrealist vibes in the book. Next up, I did buy TJ Klune's newest book, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. The House in the Cerulean Sea is still one of my very favorite books of all time. I just thought it was so precious and sweet, and so I'm very excited to read this. This is the sequel of that book. If you have not read that, I can't tell you what this is about because I feel like it kind of spoils that book. But if you have not read The House in the Cerulean Sea, it's following Linus. Linus is a caseworker, and he goes to check on magical orphans, and he is sent essentially to check on a magical house for magical kids with powers because he has been told that one of them might bring on the destruction of the world. And so he has to go to make sure that everything is safe. And while he's there, he meets all of these charming children and also the caretaker of their home, Arthur Parnassus. And it's very magical and cozy and beautiful. And this is just kind of the continuation on that story. I'm very excited. I'm also very nervous to pick this up because the first one was so touching and beautiful to me that I'm scared, but I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be fantastic. And then finally, the very last book that I have to share with you today is called The Once and Future Witches, and this is by Alex E. Haro. I don't know a lot about this. I have just heard that if you like witchy books and you like feminist books, you will like this book. This has such a high rating on Goodreads. It is crazy. So many people absolutely love this. I think it takes place in the 1800s. It says in 1893, there's no such thing as witches. There used to be in the wild, dark days before the burnings began, but now witching is nothing but tidy charms and nursery rhymes. Everyone who has read this has said that it is worth the read, and I think it's gonna be fantastic. If you like witchy books and you like feminist books, maybe pick this one up, and hopefully we will love it together. And then finally, I have 4 books here. I'm keeping these last because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have talked about these books on my channel, but I don't think I've hauled them. So if I have hauled them, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I think they're perfect for the season, and so I wanted to mention them. You'll recognize some of them because I've talked about them in a vlog, but I don't think I've hauled them before. So let's go ahead and start. The first one I have is T. Kingfisher's Thorn Hedge, and this is just, I think, a fairy tale retelling. I don't know anything else about that. It says, there's a princess trapped in a tower. This isn't her story. Meet Toadling. It's about a toad. Are you kidding me? On the day of her birth, she was stolen from her family by the fairies, but she grew up safe and loved in the warm waters of fairyland. Once an adult, though, the fae ask a favor of Toadling, return to the human world and offer a blessing of protection to a newborn child. It just, I don't know. I'm really excited. I don't know if I've talked about it on my channel. It's very small. I love T. Kingfisher. I'm very excited. And then these next 3 I have mentioned for Summerween, and again, I don't remember if I've hauled them or not. The first one is The Saturday Night Ghost Club, and this is by Craig Davidson. This is not supernatural. This is technically, like, I would consider this literary fiction, and it's a coming of age story following Jake, and Jake lives in this little town. He's best friends with his very eccentric uncle who kind of runs like an odd curiosity shop, and he's trying to make friends. And this is about the summer that he kind of like falls for a girl, and he makes a best friend, and they call themselves the Saturday Night Ghost Club, and they learn about different ghost stories and things that have happened in this town. It's very different than what I was expecting. It's very emotional. Check trigger warnings going into this book, but I thought it was fantastic and very well worth the read, and it made me cry. Next up, we have a book that I have yet to read. I might wait until next summer. I might read it now because it is a haunted house story, but it also takes place in the summertime. It's by Jennifer Thorne. It's called Diavola. And all I know about this is that it's about a family who decides to rent a Tuscan villa, and then they find that it is haunted. So sounds like a good time. And then the very last book that I have here is called Monstrilio. This is what it looks like. It is about a woman whose son tragically dies, and she keeps a part of him and somehow brings him back to life. It's sort of kind of a little bit like Frankenstein, but it's focusing more on like the dynamics between mother and son and the lengths that she will go to protect him. This is considered literary horror. I'm sure it's gonna have a lot of really, really touching and important messages in here. Yeah, I think it's gonna be great for the season. Well, there you have it, my loves. Those are all of the books I have to share with you for this cozy autumn book haul. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you had a nice cup of tea, and I hope you found 1 or 2 titles that sound good to you. And once again, a huge thank you to Disney Book Group for sponsoring today's video. If you were interested in checking out The Dark Becomes Her by Judy Lynn, you can learn more about the book from the link in my description, and I highly recommend checking it out, as it sounds perfect for this scary and cozy autumn season. I would also love to give a huge thank you and shout out to my patrons over in Foxenwood. Thank you guys so much for always supporting me, and a very big thank you to all of my Ink and Quill Club members who are all the executive producers of every single video that I create. And finally, my question of the day to you is this: what is your favorite autumnal drink of choice? Is it apple cider? Is it a pumpkin spice latte? Do you just like straight up coffee? Let me know. When you are getting cozy, what is your favorite tea or coffee or autumn drink to drink? And the emoji of the day is the pumpkin emoji. Thanks again so much, you guys. I love you so much. And until next time, my friends, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will chat with you very soon. Bye.